This utility knife is a big step up from what I see in most department stores. I have a lot of other knives from the Winco product line, and just like those, this one does not disappoint. It has all of these features that you'd really expect only from high-end knives, and yet this is pretty affordable. And that's very, very important because a utility knife is not the most useful knife in your kitchen. It's not going to be nearly as important as your paring knife or your chef knife, so you don't want to be spending a lot of money on this. And it's great that you can get something that's good quality and affordable from this one. There's really only two tasks a utility knife is suited for, which is cases where you need really high precision, like slicing a salami really, really thin, or those miscellaneous tasks where you don't want to be washing the chef knife. You just need one-off cutting, something you can finish up really quickly. And this knife is perfect for both of them. In this review, I'll be talking about three aspects. First, I'm going to give you an overview of the features this knife offers. We're going to take this knife and we're going to compare it with a lower cost department store knife, and I'm going to show you what the differences are. Then we're going to talk about the functionality of this knife, how it performs. And third, we're going to talk about the fit and finish. How does this knife perform? How does it look out of the box? So let's get started. Let's talk about the features. As I do in all my other reviews, we're going to take some measurements. The knife measures in at about 9¼ inches overall length, and the blade length comes into exactly 5 inches, just as advertised. The first thing you'll notice about this knife is that it's full tang. Now what that means is that the metal goes all the way down through the handle. You can see that it's riveted, and that's how the handle is connected. This is a very, very important feature, and this is one of the first things I look for in a knife. I'm going to take another knife here, and this one is a 99-cent knife from, I think it's the dollar store, either that or Walmart. You can see this is not a full tang knife. You can see the metal, it goes into the handle is injection molded, and you do not see the metal from the blade going through on the back. This knife over here is going to be way more durable than this one. If you have some difficult tasks, if you're cutting through a squash, and squash have very, very tough shells, this one could crack in your hand. The handle could crack. It's not a good knife. This one over here, this cheap knife, you don't want to use it for anything that requires a lot of effort, because you could get injured doing that. This knife, on the other hand, this one is solid. This full tang construction, this is going to hold up very, very well for whatever task you throw at it. One of the most important features of a knife, full tang. Always look for a full tang when you buy one. The next feature I want to talk about is, you can see that this is one piece. This is a forged steel knife. What this means is that the knife was forged, it was cast into a mold, and then the shape of the knife was machined out of that billet. You can tell that's the case from this bolster shape over here. See how this and the blade and the bolster, they connect seamlessly. There's no attachment, there's no weld here. This is all one piece of metal. Our comparison knife, the 99-cent knife, this is a stamped steel knife. This is what they take a sheet of metal and they just stamp out the shape of the knife. And then they place it in a handle. These stamped steel knives, they're not usually as good as the forged steel. They're typically lower quality, but that's not always the case. There's some really nice high-end knives that are made using the stamped method. But in general, forged steel knives tend to be a little bit higher quality. The next feature I want to talk about is the flexibility. Specifically the flexibility of the blade. You don't want the blade of your knife to flex. A utility knife should not be flexing. And look at this. This one, I cannot get the blade to move. It's very, very solid, very sturdy. I can't get it to flex at all, which is what we want. Now let's take a look at our comparison knife, the 99-cent knife. Look at this. Look at how this flexes. It flexes so easy, I don't even have to try. Look at that. Imagine you're trying to cut some squash or you're cutting some other hard vegetable. You don't want your knife to do this. Not when you're cutting. You want it to be nice, sturdy. You want it to go in the direction you push it. Very, very important for safety. You don't want your knife to be wobbling around. And finally, there's one other difference. One other feature that's really, really great about this knife. And this one, you can't quite tell just looking at the knives, which is the quality of the steel, namely the type of steel being used. This one here is made of X50CR MOV15. This is a high carbon steel. As opposed to this knife over here, this 99-cent knife is made of a low quality, cheap stainless steel, a very generic stainless steel that's not going to have the same high carbon content. And while you can't see the difference, you will feel the difference as soon as you try to sharpen the knife or you try to hone the knife. These cheaper steels, you'll notice that when you hone them, the profile of the blade, it tends to bend. It just keeps bending back and forth. It doesn't get stable very easily. It's very, very soft. It just feels really soft. It folds very easily. It means that you have a hard time sharpening it. Yes, you can get this sharp, but it's a lot harder to get this sharp than it is to get this sharp. This high carbon steel is a little bit harder. When you sharpen the knife, the profile kind of stays there. It doesn't fold as easily. You can also get a little bit sharper than you would with the cheaper steels. Let's talk about functionality. The handle of this knife, first of all, is very comfortable. It fits right in your hand. Not too big, not too small, it's just right. It's a very comfortable knife to work with. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this knife is really for two types of tasks. For the second task, detailed work. Cutting really thin slices or high precision slices that you don't want to be doing with a chef knife. So let's take a look at how this knife performs. We've got an apple over here that I'm gonna chop up for a snack. I'm gonna show you how well this knife does. Just gonna clean off our apple really quick, and it's just sliding effortlessly through the apple. And to be fair, you could really do this with any knife. But now I'm gonna show you the difference. Looking at our apple over here, we're gonna use our claw grip. I'm gonna bring the knife down. I'm going to show you what I can do with these slices. Look at this. I think you can get these. I messed that one up. You can see it takes some practice. But look at that. You can get these beautiful thin slices. And while you probably don't eat your apple like this, this is what you'd want to do with some salami. I know I like my salami thin. I don't really like my apples thin, but salami, I like to get it thin. And this is the perfect tool to do it. Now we're going to do the same task with our 99-cent knife. So we're going to take our apple here, and right away as I start cutting into this apple, I can feel this blade flexing. See, this is not a very sturdy blade. So I can feel it flexing. It feels very uncomfortable, very unstable. But you can still do it. And now we're going to try to get some really thin slices. And right away I can see that there's a problem, you see. It just feels like I don't have as much control with this blade. It's thinner, but it moves around too much. It just bends too much. You can see, look at these. Much thicker. Going back to this one for comparison. Look at this. The one on the left is our Winco knife. The one on the right is the 99-cent knife. You just don't have the same control. It doesn't feel as solid. It's harder to make those precise cuts. It's not the sharpness, it's the control of the knife. Moving on to fit and finish, right after we clean off our board. Now that I've had a snack and I cleaned off the board, we are ready to talk about the last part of our review, fit and finish. Right out of the box, the handle is excellent. I didn't need to do any polishing, any work around the connection points between this plastic handle and the metal. Everything was smooth Everything worked right out of the box. However, there were a few details I needed to take care of. The top of the knife. This is a very common issue with Winco knives. This top of the knife here was really sharp. And I didn't want it to scratch me when I'm working. So I went through with a little bit of 600 grit sandpaper and just smoothed this out. Also went in around over here. You can see this. Right over here between the blade and the bolster, this little curve here. I went and polished this area as well. It also tends to be a bit sharp. The other aspect of this knife that's going to need a little bit of tweaking is the way it was sharpened. When I took it out of the box, it was sharpened to just over 20 degrees on each side, which is not ideal for a knife. A lot of manufacturers do this because it improves the durability of the edge, but that comes at a cost. It comes at a cost of the precision of that knife. And I recommend you go in and you sharpen this 15 degrees on each side. This is a good quality steel. You can do 15 degrees on each side, and it's going to hold up pretty well. You'll be able to really get that next level performance out of your knife. To sum things up, at the time of this review I paid $5.50 for this knife, and that is a bargain. I have seen knives going for $30, $40 with the same set of features as this one. Nothing more. For just $5.50, this is a steal. It's a great deal. Now yes, there are some fit and finish issues which I described earlier. You can take care of all of them yourself at home. It's not a big deal. Sharpening a hard knife isn't too hard. That affordability is important. You don't want to be spending a lot of money for a utility knife because this, like I said at the beginning of the review, is not the most important knife in your kitchen. But it does make everyday tasks a little bit easier, a little bit more comfortable. So I strongly recommend it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you found this video review helpful.